I'm here to do a book review of Battlefront II Inferno Squad. It's written by Christie Golden, who also wrote Dark Disciple out of the canon novels. Good evening, cadets. This is Lance here from Cinematic Galaxy, and yes, I'm here to review Inferno Squad by Christie Golden. Inferno Squad was announced, I believe, near the beginning of this year, and then at Celebration, which I was fortunate and blessed enough to be at. I was not at the panel, but I knew the news dropped there that that Inferno Squad would actually be Battlefront II, tying directly with the game coming out this November, except that it takes place, the game takes place in the 30 years between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, while the book takes place just after Episode 4. And so that interested me right off the bat, but I was already intrigued because apparently the story is about an elite ops group of Imperials are assigned to eradicate the remaining partisans of Saw that were loyal to Saw Gerrera, his rebel group. There are a few of them still out there, so this group is assigned to go after them and destroy them. I thought that was interesting, first of all, because it's picking up like directly, it ties directly to Rogue One, which I loved, and I love the lore that that film has brought about. So we were seeing kind of the repercussions of the actions of Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor and the rest of Rogue One, and seeing an elite team of Imperials assigned to clean that mess up, basically, because they suffered a huge blow with the Battle of Scarif, and an even bigger blow with the Battle of Yavin. This was fascinating to me right off the bat. And then obviously Christie Golden writing it. I thought she did a very good job with Dark Disciple, so her writing is very good, so naturally I was on board there. And I haven't read much Legends. I know apparently there are a lot of stories following the Empire, from the Empire's point of view in Legends, and a few in canon. But, you know, for me, I mean, this still felt fresh because I hadn't seen anything like this before, where basically the protagonists were people who were, they're basically live and die by the Empire, you know, so that was fascinating. And also, I'm a huge, if I haven't made it clear here, I'm a huge fan of spy espionage stories. Like, I love a lot of James Bond films. I'm a big Jason Bourne fan. Big Mission Impossible fan, and I just really dig espionage thrillers like that. So this definitely, that's why I loved Rogue One so much, because it had that feel, and Inferno Squad had that feel even more. And even as somebody who isn't a gamer, I do want to know the story of the game, and I want to see the story of Inferno Squad unfold there. But I was still very curious about the book, and I have to say, I'm very thrilled to say that I loved Inferno Squad. It honestly fulfilled and maybe even surpassed my expectations. And first things first, Christie Golden. With any book, I look for, doesn't matter if it's Star Wars or whatever, I look for that book to be well written. I want to be engaged by the prose. There's no guarantee that I'm going to enjoy a Star Wars book. I have to enjoy the writing. And Christie Golden, her writing is great, so it checks out for that. I've got to think the story is very good. I have to be invested in the characters. And Inferno Squad checks out in both of those categories as well. First things first, I love the cast. I loved Iden Versio, who in the game is essentially, she's Janina Gavankar, and pretty much the character's design is Janina Gavankar. Like, they did not change what she looked like for this role, which I thought was really cool. She does the motion capture for the game. That is her, and her character is just such a no-nonsense Imperial who, you know, when you get to the bottom of who her character is, yes, she's a person, and yes, she does have a moral conscience, but somehow that has led to her being completely devoted one way or another to the Imperial regime. And I thought that was fascinating. I'm not sure that I've seen a Star Wars protagonist this way before. Not myself personally. I'm not sure I've seen an Imperial character quite like this. Maybe Ray Sloan from the books, but I think Iden Versio. We've never had a book from the perspective where Ray Sloan is the main character. So it's a little different there. But Iden Versio is the main character of this book, so that's what makes it such an interesting shakeup. And she reminded me a lot of, at points, of Jyn Erso from Rogue One, except for opposite sides, obviously. But then there were moments where they got into certain details where I was like, okay, maybe she isn't as much like Jyn Erso as I thought, because I could not see Jyn Erso doing that in the name of the rebellion. So that was something that I thought was interesting. I also really loved the supporting characters around Iden as well. My favorite supporting character of the book might be a character named Del Miko, I believe is his name, his full name. You have other interesting characters as well, and they're all believable. You become attached to all of them. Iden's father plays a prominent part in this book as well, Admiral Garrick Versio, and his character was very chilling in my opinion. And without going into too much detail, I love Imperial characters like him as well. So it was cool reading the scenes where he was present. One really cool thing about Inferno Squad is that it has some really great callbacks to not only Rogue One, but to Rebel Rising. And it also, I mean, it's clear that Christie Golden is a fan of the Clone Wars era as well. But so that definitely factors in. But I love how much she seems to appreciate Rogue One, and she must have read Rebel Rising or read the notes of it. I mean, there were just some really great connective tissue there. So I would recommend you read Rebel Rising before reading Inferno Squad. And I would hope you've seen the Clone Wars before reading it, because, like I said, without going into detail, there are some cool tie-ins to the Clone Wars here. So that was neat. What I will also say about this book is that if you're a parent, I would maybe caution against your kid reading this. Like, this book, much like Rebel Rising, is dark. It goes dark. Darker than I expected at points. And there were scenes where I had to kind of sit back and process what I was reading, because it was so disturbing, some of it. And but what I will say, without rambling too much, I want to say that Inferno Squad, you really do see things from the Empire's perspective with this book. And you kind of do see the rebels at points as the bad guys. You go from seeing the Empire, even though you're following them, you see them as the bad guys at one moment. Then you see the Rebel Alliance as the bad guys, or you see the Partisans as the bad guys. And at points you see neither of them as bad guys. It's crazy, but it's so interesting. And that's one of the things the new canon has done a great job of, in my opinion, is just making both sides and all the subcategories of those sides believable. And to me, that's probably the best thing about this book and the most profound thing about it. So yeah, that pretty much sums up my spoiler-free reviews, my spoiler-free thoughts of Inferno Squad. I love this book. It's one of my favorite canon books, and I've got to give it a solid, I think I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10, to be honest with you. It really fulfilled everything I wanted. I cannot think of anything I disliked about it. It definitely sets the stage for the story of the game, and it's just a fascinating look into the Empire and into these cool characters. And Iden Versio, as I said, is a great character. Let me know, guys, if you've read Inferno Squad. What do you think about it? Did you enjoy it as much as me? Or if you haven't read it, do you plan on reading it? And anyway, guys, thanks as always for watching, and this is Lance from Cinematic Galaxy, signing off.